After a 2-year hiatus due to the coronavirus pandemic, the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration will host its 4th Labour Conference tomorrow under the theme 25 Years in Pursuit of Social Justice and Equity. The 2-day event in Boksburg will reflect on the 25th anniversary of the Labour Relations Act, highlight notable trends in the labour market and debate the future of dispute resolution. To tell us more now, we're joined virtually by the CCMA's Director, Advocate Cameron Morajane. Advocate, thank you so much for your time this evening. I'm sure this has always been relevant to you, but one gets the feeling that the issues that will be discussed at this conference starting tomorrow is now more important than ever before. Give us some insight into what you're hoping to achieve with this talk shop starting tomorrow.
Thank you very much for having us. In the main, the conference is a reflection. In fact, it's also the first one after COVID-19. And we will be reflecting on the past 25 years since the establishment of the important employment law legislations in the Republic of South Africa. As we know that the principal legislation that we deal with is the Labour Relations Act, and it created processes on how to resolve employment law dispute in the Republic of South Africa. Over and above that, it created very important institutions such as the CCMA, such as the Labour Court, NEDLAC, UIF Compensation Fund, and a number of institutions that are created in order to achieve what is commonly known as social justice, which is an important principle which is contained in Chapter 1 of the Labour Relations Act, including economic development and the democratization of the workplaces. Because of that, and since the inception of all those laws, so much has happened in order to achieve those important ideals. Now we are going to sit down and have a reflection from all sides to look at what has happened, what is happening, and what should be happening in the future in order to make sure that when we talk dispute resolution, we really do that. And if you look at the type of people that we've invited, on top of your list, you will have the Chief Justice Zondo, who will be addressing us tomorrow as the first governing body chairperson of the CCMA. And also we have the Judge President of the Labour Court and the Labour Appeal Court, Judge Wagley, who's going to be talking about the judicial experience of the Labour Court for the past 25 years, where we are and where we are going, the kind of problems we've had in resolving dispute. We have Professor Mbedi, we've got Professor Kalula, we've got Professor Bonang Mohale, who also we've got, Professor Paul Benjamin, you name them. It's a very, very, very heavy loaded program that will have all experts all brought in one room in 2 days to talk about the state of our labor disputes and how we resolve them. And it's also not just about the reflection, it's also about celebrating 25 years of dispute resolution since the dawn of democracy in South Africa. And all of us trying to find a solution on how we deal with disputes and moving forward. I mean, as we sit here, since inception, you're talking about almost 3.8 million cases that have been referred to the CCMA since its inception. These numbers exclude bargaining councils, it excludes the Labour Court, and it excludes Labour Appeal Court, it excludes the Constitutional Court. So if you take all those numbers together and look at the global picture, what you see is a very conflictual society, but we have to measure on how we've done in resolving those disputes for that period. So that's what this conference...
Advocate, do you feel encouraged that you've seen, in as much as those numbers you've mentioned in cases are quite high, do you feel encouraged that those numbers have grown? Because surely you see that as a reflection of people having more and more of an understanding of what their rights are as being part of the labour force. In fact, it's probably become one of those things that now gets said when you speak, you hear a conversation and people talking about them having trouble at work or trouble with their dismissal or leaving work, and the first thing somebody at the table will say, take them to the CCMA. How do you feel about that kind of branding around the CCMA?
I feel triumphant about it. I feel victorious. I feel motivated. I feel like I'm living in a constitutionally protected state where citizens can choose whether to refer a dispute or not. And the role that we've played that really motivates and encourages us as a CCMA family is that the first thing that we've done is not just to resolve disputes, we have also embarked on a serious campaign to make people aware of their rights. Imagine that if you get dismissed and you feel that the dismissal is unfair, you go to the CCMA, you use the Labour Relations Act. If you feel there's something wrong with your terms and conditions of employment, leave, maternity leave, you've got the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. If you feel that there's no equity in the workplace or you feel discriminated as protected by the Constitution, you've got the Employment Equity Act. If you are a worker that is enjoying or not enjoying the minimum wage, you know that you can come to the CCMA to refer that dispute. If you've got a UIF problem, you can go to the Department of Labor. If you get injured at work, you can go to the Compensation Fund. So if you look at the broad spectrum of the employment law that our country has done, not only must we also celebrate and be proud that we live in a constitutional state that understands the rule of law, we must say we are happy that if I have a dispute, as the Constitution says in terms of Section 34, that if you have a dispute, you must have access to tribunals that will resolve your dispute. And CCMA and bargaining councils is your home. The Labour Court is your home. The Labour Appeal Court, the Constitutional Court is your home. So in your answering your question, we should be celebratory, because that is a triumphant attitude that we must adopt and celebrate our democracy and celebrate that if you've got issues, your issues will be sorted out without fear, favor, or anything of that sort. So yes, it is a celebratory champagne moment for us to have.
Well, we can only wish you everything of the best for the conference ahead. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I'm sure we'll be dissecting some of what will be spoken about at this conference. The theme this year, 25 years in pursuit of social justice and equity, the first CCMA annual Labour conference since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's where CCMA Director, Advocate Cameron Morajane, joining us virtually.